welcome back to the show. Today, I want to dive into a topic that's been trending hard on Chinese TikTok, or Douyin, as it's called there. Why are so many young Chinese people suddenly cheering for South Korea's crazy low birth rate? It's not just admiration, it's frustration and desperation they see in their own lives. Let's dig into what's really behind this viral trend on Chinese TikTok. Just scroll through a few videos and you'll find clips talking about how South Korean women are refusing to have children. Each video has hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of likes and comments. And the comment sections practically overflowing with praise. People calling Korean women brave and admirable for standing by their decision. So, what's going on here? Why are Chinese netizens cheering on Korea's demographic decline? Let's take a closer look at the shared frustrations behind this international solidarity. According to stats from South Korea's National Statistics Office, the country's fertility rate hit a new low in 2023, just 0.72. That means, on average, a South Korean woman will have fewer than one child in her lifetime. To maintain a stable population, the rate needs to be at least 2.1. At this pace, South Korea's population is set to shrink dramatically. But the Chinese comment sections aren't mocking this. Instead, people are saying things like, Korean women are bold. They say it, they mean it. I admire that. I wonder if we'll see the same thing in China 10 years from now. This isn't about blindly copying South Korea, nor is it just an emotional response driven by feminism. Behind the likes and shares is something deeper: frustration, exhaustion, and a very real sense of helplessness among China's younger generation. Let's talk about working hours first. In 2023, the average South Korean reportedly worked over 60 hours a week. The average commute time in Seoul, a staggering 87 minutes per day, ranking among the longest in the world. Sounds familiar? That's because young people in China are dealing with almost the exact same thing. In major cities, the 996 work culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, has become the norm, especially in tech and internet companies. That's 72 hours a week. Add in long commutes, and what you're left with is just enough energy to crash into bed at night. There's no time for dating, let alone raising a child. As one netizen put it, from 9 to 9, I work for my boss, and after 9, I work for a crying mini-boss at home. No thanks. Let's not forget commuting. In Beijing, according to the 2023 annual commute report, the average city commute takes 51 minutes. About 30% of trips take longer than an hour. Traffic congestion has gotten worse, with peak hour speeds dropping below 25 kilometers per hour. Subway crowds? A nightmare. So, when Chinese netizens hear about Korean struggles, the intense work culture, the soul-crushing commutes, it hits close to home. It feels like looking into a mirror. Now let's talk about women and the workforce. A 2024 report from South Korea's Women's Policy Research Institute showed that 73% of women believe having a child is a career-ending move, and that hits hard in China too. A 2024 workplace survey revealed that over 60% of urban Chinese women feel that childbirth negatively impacts their careers. Here's what some Chinese women have said. At my job interview, HR straight up said they wouldn't hire someone married without kids. Too risky. Even during pregnancy, I worked until 10 p.m., sometimes even midnight. I didn't dare miss a single deadline. Women are being forced into a brutal either-or choice between family and career. And giving up a job to become a stay-at-home mom, that requires a supportive partner, a happy marriage, and kind in-laws. In today's China, where divorce rates are high and marriage rates are low, that's a gamble. With your entire future as the wager, so many urban young people opt out. They're not raising kids. They're raising their bank accounts. Of course, the pressure doesn't stop there. Housing prices are another huge factor. According to Global Property Guide's 2025 data, the average price per square meter in Seoul is about 13.4 million won. That's roughly $9,272. Completely unaffordable for the average worker. In Beijing and Shanghai, even worse. As of 2024, prices are averaging $8,300 to $13,800 per square meter. Buying a home in China's big cities is practically a fantasy. Earning $420 a month won't buy you an apartment with a baby's room. It won't even cover formula if you're paying off a $280 mortgage. People aren't refusing to have kids out of rebellion. They're simply too scared to. Now, you might ask, well, what about moving to a smaller town or the countryside? Fair question. Unlike South Korea, China still has a large rural population. And yes, birth rates are much higher there. But the situation's very different. In some rural areas, outdated values still dominate, like preferring sons over daughters. Some families keep having babies until they finally have a boy. 8 daughters later, and they're still trying. These households often earn less than $2,000 a year. They're not worried about education costs because their kids start helping out on the farm before they can even read. No need for piano lessons, just know what pigs eat. And what has the Chinese government done in response? Well, in 2021, amid post-pandemic economic struggles and rising youth unemployment, the Chinese Communist Party introduced the three-child policy. To say it was poorly received would be an understatement. Comments poured in. My boss said I'm replaceable. Well, so are potential babies. 1 kid to feed cows, 1 for the sheep, and 1 to inherit my mortgage. This July, the government announced a new subsidy. Families with kids aged 0 to 3 would get 3,600 yen a year. That's around $500, supposedly benefiting 20 million households. It sounds generous, but it breaks down to just $1.50 a day. Sure, in rural areas where the cost of living is lower, that might help a bit. But in cities where formula, diapers, and daycare cost a fortune, that's barely pocket change. Some netizens joked, that doesn't even cover my dog's food. $1.50 a day? I guess the baby's switching to lemon water. Others took a more grateful tone. That's a decent amount for those of us in rural or mountainous areas. $45 a month can buy enough formula for half a month. We should be thankful for living in China and having such good policies. Some even speculated this wasn't just about birthrate outmo. It was a strategy to boost domestic spending. Poorer families won't buy foreign brands with that money. They'll spend it on local staples like rice and cooking oil. In other words, it's less about babies, more about economic stimulation. Now compare that to South Korea. There, families with babies under 1-year-old get $770 per month. Toddlers aged 12 to 23 months get $385. Have a baby? Here's $1,540. Have a second? That's $2,310. Add on parental leave, long-term educational support. It's a much more comprehensive system. Still hasn't fixed their birth rate, but compared to China, night and day. One commenter summed it up perfectly. The birth rate might be flashing red, but my life has been in crisis mode for years. If the government refuses to address the root problems, wages, work hours, housing, gender inequality, and instead tosses out a handful of coins, do they really expect people to start popping out babies? So let me ask you, does your country need a higher birth rate? Would you personally choose to have kids? Drop a comment and let me know what you think. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Catch you next time. Bye.